Breaking news from the reviewerverse. On the morning of August 6, 2024, an unfortunate and unexplained disaster has happened. It seems that the young Mustang prince, Joshua Orro, has become a victim of a Facebook hacker who has both changed his email and password on his account. At the moment, we currently have no answers to who's responsible for this terrible crime. Will the Mustang prince be able to get his Facebook account recovered? Only the future will tell us, and let us all wish him well. Howdy, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. Welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know, it's not very often that I blog or watch a Western film. Yes, I have seen several of these, like An American Tale 2, Fievel Goes West, The Mask of Zorro, along with Disney's Home on the Range, Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up, Rango, 1955's Oklahoma, and of course, the Spirit movies. However, for some time now, I have been thinking about blogging a Western film that was released during the early 2010s and was given to us by Disney and Jerry Bruckheimer. Now, I know not a lot of people liked it when it was in theaters, but what do I personally think about it after over a decade? Well, we're about to find out. Released on July 3rd, 2013, the movie is The Lone Ranger. So, on for the plot of the movie. Taking place in 1869 Colby, Texas, the film tells the story of John Reed, an idealistic lawyer who rides with his brother and fellow Texas Rangers in pursuit of the notorious Butch Cavendish. Ambushed by the outlaw and left for dead, John is rescued by the renegade Comanche Tonto at the insistence of a mysterious white horse named Silver, and offers to help him to bring Cavendish to justice. Becoming a reluctant masked rider with a seemingly incomprehensible partner, Reed pursues the criminal against all obstacles. However, John and Tonto learn that Cavendish is only part of a far greater injustice, and the pair must fight it in an adventure that would soon make them a legend. So, what do I personally think of this movie? Well, I understand that it's not a perfect movie, but when I saw it in theaters with my parents and sister, I actually enjoyed it. But sadly, after making about $260 million out of its $225 to $250 million budget at the box office, the film became one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. But anyway, let's put that behind us for now and ride on to Mustang Notes. Now, for those who don't know, this film is based on a fictional masked former Texas Ranger who first appeared in 1933 on a radio show on WXYZ Detroit, conceived either by station owner George W. Trendle and Frank Stryker. In March 2002, Columbia Pictures announced their intention to make a Lone Ranger movie with Classic Media, who owned the film rights at the time. Husband and wife producer Douglas Wick and Lucy Fisher joined the project. David and Janet Peoples were hired to write the script the following year, which was rewritten by Laeta Kalogridis. Jonathan Mostow was attached to direct by early 2005, but Columbia placed the film in turnaround. The Weinstein Company was interested in purchasing the film rights from Classic Media in 2007, but the deal fell apart when Entertainment Rights eventually optioned the property. They teamed up with producer Jerry Bruckheimer and brought The Lone Ranger to Walt Disney Pictures. Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who worked with Bruckheimer and Disney on the Pirates of the Caribbean series, were being courted to write the script. In late March 2008, Ilya and Rosio were in final negotiations with Justin Haythe doing a few rewrites. In May 2009, Mike Newell, who was then directing Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time for Bruckheimer and Disney, entered negotiations to direct The Lone Ranger. But then, in September 2010, Gore Verbinski was announced to be in negotiations to direct, and his hiring was made official that very October. Principal photography began on March 8, 2012. Filming locations extended throughout 6 states: Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and California. Some filming occurred specifically near Creek, Colorado in June 2012, Moab, Utah in July 2012, and Cimarron Canyon State Park in New Mexico in August. Second unit, or stunt and blue screen work, commenced in late September 2012 in the parking lot of Santa Anita Raceway, Arcadia, California. The film was shot in an anamorphic format with cinematographer Bohan Bazelli using Panavision C and G series lenses. Daytime exteriors, about 70% of the film, were shot on Kodak Vision 3 50D 5203 35mm film with Panavision Panaflex Platinum and Arriflex 435 cameras. Interiors and nighttime exteriors were shot digitally with Arri Alexa studio cameras. Industrial Light and Magic created the visual effects for The Lone Ranger, including a CGI rendering of the Golden Gate Bridge as it looked well under construction during 1936. Although, the film's opening is set in 1933. Also to note, despite its bombing at the box office, The Lone Ranger was surprisingly nominated at the 86 Academy Awards in 2 categories. 1 for Best Visual Effects, and 2 for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Now, I can't really understand why several critics and other people I knew didn't enjoy this movie. Heck, ever since fall 2013, I'm kind of surprised that the cartoon hero compares this movie to the 6th Land Before Time movie. Ugh. But, again, I do understand that it's not a perfect movie, and I heard that there have been some problems, like budget concerns, Alan F. Horn replacing Rich Ross as chairman of the Walt Disney Studios, along with inclement weather, wildfires, a chickenpox outbreak, and the death of crew member Michael Andrew Bridger. Man, now that's pretty scary if you think about it. But the reason why me and my family enjoyed it after we saw it in theaters is mainly due to the Wild West setting, the badass action scenes, which feel almost reminiscent to the Zorro movies, and I also like that it includes a supernatural plot element involving coyotes. To quote Jack Sparrow,
"I've heard some tales, but not a one like this."
Plus, I also like the scene in Red's brothel, the scenes involving the trains, and the final climax, which includes the William Tell Overture, which I've heard before in the band concert, Silly Symphony Swings, and the 2010 Yogi Bear movie. And that's basically all I got for Mustang notes. So let's head over to the film's cast. The main character, John Reed, aka the Lone Ranger, is played by Armie Hammer, whom was in The Social Network, 2012's Mirror Mirror, and of course, Pixar's Cars 3. Now, John Reed is a stalwart idealist firmly opposed to the violent ethics of the frontier, where justice is regularly meted out by gunshot. After being left for dead by Butch Cavendish, John was later rescued by Tonto, and he becomes a masked vigilante who seeks the perpetrators responsible for his brother's death. In my opinion, John is a heroic ranger, and he makes a great gunslinger. Also, I think his horse Silver is smart, loyal, but also mysterious. Next is Tonto, played by Johnny Depp. Best known from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, several Tim Burton films, the Pirates of the Caribbean films, the Fantastic Beasts franchise, along with Rango, Sherlock Gnomes, and just recently, Johnny Puff's Secret Mission. Tonto is a wandering Comanche cast out from his tribe who rides alone in search of the two men responsible for the ruin of his village until his path fatefully crosses with John Reed, whom he transforms into the Lone Ranger. In my eyes, Tonto is basically the best character in the entire film. Not only because of Johnny Depp's acting, but I think he makes a great mentor, a loyal friend, and I like that he tells his story to a little boy named Will at a Wild West exhibition tent. Plus, I thought Tonto's childhood backstory involving Butch Cavendish and Latham Cole was actually very interesting, but also very twisted. And I think his raven that he keeps on his head is pretty cool, but also very thought-provoking. Next we come to Rebecca, played by Ruth Wilson, who played Margaret Goff in Saving Mr. Banks. You know, I really like her. She's kind, witty, and she always puts her life before her son Danny. Plus, she possesses the grit and independence of any frontiersman. Next is her son Danny, played by Brian Prince, whom 2 years later got to be in Terminator Genesis. What I like about Danny is that he's brave, loyal, and adventurous. He is very proud of his family and their legacy. He's also curious about the world and eager to learn new things, and he's also compassionate and kind as he befriends Tonto. Our next character is Butch Cavendish, played by William Finchner, whom was in Armageddon and Independence Day Resurgence. Now, Butch is a ruthless and cannibalistic outlaw who leads a band of mercenaries. He not only robs and murders, but he delights in eating parts of his victims' body parts, which in my opinion is really, really messed up. Also to note, Tonto believes that Butch is a Wendigo. Finally, we come to the main antagonist, Latham Cole, played by Tom Wilkinson, whom not only passed away last year, but I also remember him from Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Now, this character is a corrupt, greedy businessman / railroad tycoon who strives towards his personal endeavors for his personal benefit using various methods like extortion and murder. Throughout the events of the movie, he attempts to reach high levels of power and wealth, working closely with his brother Butch Cavendish in secret. Plus, he's also willing to start a war and to slaughter all the Native Americans in order to achieve his goals, thus revealing that he is completely without morals or limits. Other actors in the film include Helena Bonham Carter as Red Harrington, James Badge Dale as Dan Reed, and Barry Pepper as Captain Jay Fuller. And now, on to my final words. Overall, The Lone Ranger may not be one of the best Western films in movie history, but it's still very entertaining in my opinion. It has great cinematography, thrilling and badass Western action, decent humor, and pretty impressive visual effects. The acting is terrific, and the musical score by Hans Zimmer is top-notch as always. Now, I don't really recommend this movie for everybody, but if you folks are Western movie fans, Johnny Depp fans, or fans of the old Lone Ranger radio show, then be sure to check it out, either on DVD, Blu-ray, or Disney+. As for my rating, I'll give it a 93% out of 100. Well, that's all for now, partners. So, What's next on my list? It seems that we're going to look at a Tim Burton film based on a 1970s TV series. Be sure to join me next time. Mustang Power!